Gonna do a little quick tech check. Thank you for your patience and understanding. Well, welcome to day 23 of the 25 days of Force Majeure Christmas. Let's begin with a communion oneness prayer. You're welcome to say the prayer of your tradition. Me personally, I just prefer silence. Thank you. Day 23, doing what is right and not pleasant. I want to share a quick video. I think with the technology that's available now, the empowered, cool things that we can do in playfulness,
personal responsibility and research. It also, for those who are going to be executing that in Hawaii, part of that responsibility is to ensure that there is an immigration, consulate, and embassy of your nation. So anybody, no matter who you are, can use force majeure. And that's for all contracts. All contracts are null and void. Birth certificates, bank accounts, loans, real estate, TMK, credit cards, everything. Business contracts, 1099s, W-2s, birth certificates, marriage licenses, all licenses, everything, all of it. Court cases, everything, force majeure, all the way.
So the fun things that we can do with technology now, and a large portion, or all of it essentially, we have a debt of gratitude to pay to the Congolese people. A Congolese man recently set himself on fire, protesting the genocide of his people. If you use any tech, it is blood tech, because the slavery as young as 4 years old are forced to mine raw materials for tech. Decades-long enslavement. How would anywhere be okay with 4-year-olds working and mining? And with the way that the livestock industry, rape, kidnap, torture, genocide, who's to say that that isn't being done to these people? I want to share a video doing my part, what I can do, and this is what I'm doing, but we'll see what other things start opening up.
A Congolese man set himself on fire to bring attention to the ongoing genocide and exploitation that is happening to his people in the DRC. The video is circulating all over Twitter, and now it has made its way to TikTok right now. and people are outraged. And I actually searched up the whole situation to see if there's articles on it, and no BBC or CNN or Washington Post, none of these big publications covered it because they want to hide what they are doing in the DRC. So the man literally set himself on fire. Like, I don't even know how he can have that kind of courage, but just to like bring attention to what's happening to the people of Congo. Like, they've been exploited. Millions of people, children at the age of 4, are mining cobalt and coltan and all kinds of stuff for the tech companies and all kinds of stuff. Okay, and I don't know if you have seen the video, but it's pretty heavy. And because we need to bring attention to this issue, guys. Nobody's talking about what's happening in Africa and how these people are suffering from the same colonial power. Israel, America, Britain, France, all these people are taking advantage of these innocent people and their lives. The conflict in the DRC is fueled by the competition for the rich natural resources of the region, such as gold, coltan, and cobalt, which are used in various industries and technologies. Literally every big company, every tech company, the government, everyone is taking advantage of the Congolese people and their natural resource, which belongs to them, and they're not even profiting from it. They're being forced to mine it. First of all, do all the hard work, risk their lives, and then these people steal it from them and come and make billions of dollars worth of profit off of these people's lives. So please share this video, make it go wild, even outside of TikTok. If you see other people talking about this, make like, nobody is covering this. There's no news articles covering this. Like, they don't care because they're gonna lose profits if the world wakes up to support the Congolese people and also the Sudanese people and all the other exploitation and genocides in Africa. So please share this video outside of TikTok. Let's talk about this. The Congolese people desperately need us.
It gets very interesting looking around, and also the lack of activism. And I get it with everything. Everyone is strapped all kinds of ways on purpose with inflation and everything, and then postured threatening of war. And so, because of that postured threatening of war,
Force majeure, force majeure, force majeure all the way. Hey! 25 days force majeure Christmas. Force majeure is a legal remedy for full stop when there is natural disasters or acts of God, and occupation and war. But it comes with full personal responsibility, which include ensuring to set up immigration, consulate, embassy of your nation, as well as encourage the U.S. to do the right thing and call martial law, because Hawaii Kingdom is in martial law. We're waiting for the U.S. to reflect as such and follow the laws of war, international law. So, welcome to 25 Days Force Majeure Christmas with full personal responsibility.
so with that being said, for me, I am a 4th generation Hilo girl. And I want to start today off with a question that I asked. Is it intelligent to go into college debt slavery, to pledge allegiance to the bar, British accredited regency, to practice American law in Hawaii Kingdom? Is an official war zone and in our American occupation. It's a legit question. So, force majeure. Treaties are contracts. Broken treaties are broken contracts. Occupation is war. Thus, laws of war apply to all nations associated with the United Nations. Force majeure is a legal claim making all contracts null and void in natural disasters, acts of God, war, or occupation. And global peace treaty is actual and factual humanitarian law with applicable remedy, full stop. So with force majeure, specifically in Hawaii Kingdom, becomes all contracts are null and void up to post-millennium, meaning the day of the insurgency, which is January 17, 1893. Who am I? Well, for me, I making the choice, how this all started was to build temple in Hawaii Kingdom and walking exclusively on the spiritual side. A lot of different things came up, and I wanting to build temple in Hawaii Kingdom led me to start looking into it, because we are never taught about it. And unless you stand on the front line and you go look, and even that is filled with subjective truths to have to filter through to find that collective integrity, the collective integrity of what is actually going on here. And because everything is based on truths, even the law, that's why it seems very confusing here in what the realm called Hawaii. And so for me, these are the things that are my core vibration, which is empower with independence. Independent of self is true mother worship. For me, because I choose to live the full dynamic of my rights by starting my own lineage, sampradaya, vibe tribe, family, of self-governed families expressing their own liberated consciousness, ensuring up-to-date DNA expressions spiritually, economically, and politically. The female form is the walking temple of life, more sacred and holy than all temples, churches, holy places, and human achievement combined. The last guardians of the future, keeping everything current, including DNA, entrusted by Cosmos, Paramashiva, God. Mothers to initiate third eye and Kundalini through umbilical cord initiation, because the 460 powers of Mahadeva are real. Hinduism is real. Mother and father is the first guru. No one will ever grant me my birthright. Women are a source of posterity, thus the right to have one's own country and currency, not the UN, not anyone or group. That's a birthright. And going back to where families govern themselves. Time is life, and so for me, I'm advocating for 1 hour exchanges, because everybody is only that would be equal. The hierarchical constructs and that are in place for so long, that the hypocrisies people see, but it's not the living reality. And so being bold enough to say it and align my life as such. All mothers are global leaders, and only Cosmos, Paramashiva, God, granted, blessed me life today, as well as you, whoever you call upon as God. And I advocate for a Moksha Peace Treaty, which means self-governed sovereignty. Just like everybody can have their own business if they chose to, having your own country, it should be just as equally simply available. It's all just paperwork. And especially with the 1 hour for 1 hour, Currency should not be an issue. You are here paying rent to who is a legit question. I'm also advocating for the redefining the slavery, because when landlords exist, slavery exists. Those are built-in constructs of slavery. No masters is no slaves. Either everyone owns an acre of land or no one owns land. Food forests, so that Kailasa, or heaven, on Buloka earth can be lived as a real reality. What am I doing? I am basically the melting pot of subjective truths, Hawaiian luau interculture interfaith buffet style. I don't take sides. I'm for global peace, family-centric, consciousness-based societies, and am an investigative diplomatic mediator in the global neighborhood. So there's all this talk about World War III. That's why force majeure will work anywhere. Can carry that all the way up to the UN. But in war-torn, ravaged places, those kinds of civilities, if you will, is very difficult. I understand that. This is where the rest of the world must hold each other accountable in this neighborhood. In your neighborhood, you would not allow someone to just move in and take over. It's the same thing. What the challenge is that there are 1-1 families or 1-1 households or 1-1 dharmas, 1-1 religion. Being too enthusiastic of their supremacy when all of us equally exist, woke up today because why? Cosmos, God, Paramashiva, whoever we call upon in that oneness woke up today and is here. And because religion and traditions are unique, they are not the same. They might have interlapping similarities, but they are not all the same. Hinduism, well, it depends on guru and who's sharing with you, but they do have a concept called Advaita, which is all inclusive. So 1-1 dharma may or may not have Advaita, but Advaita has all 1-1 dharma because consciousness is revered, not who one calls upon as God. That is respected and honored on how that being is wired. And so what I advocate, being very inclusive, is to not just do your own genealogy of your blood genealogy of your ancestry, but your spiritual genealogy as well, so that you know exactly who you are, what you are all about. And so when you do that, it's the most deliciously beautiful adventure in celebrating your life, because it includes food, dance, music, medicine, spirituality, which is your DNA. And you regain what was stolen or hidden from you by colonizers. And because we are all here from source, whatever you want to call it, that tradition that you have, Big Bang, Paramashiva, Parashakti, Mother and Father, or Adam and Eve, or whatever you want to call it, we're all here. And so it gets silly, and I choose to share this screenshot of the movie Braveheart, of the grandpas waving around their crayon scribbles or scrolls, which is their story, their subjective truth of their family. And that becomes a silly conversation, especially that's just like kindergarteners who are all going to the same class and then being like, no, I'm more important, when they're all just there learning, right? Enjoying, supposed to be enjoying and celebrating life together. So then, my question is founded on what? Violence, posturing, threatening, imposed ignorance, theft, torture, caging, kidnap, rape, prostitution, science, experimenting, torture, murder, genocide, massacre, brutality, right? And how does that really matter? Only to the guy waving around his crayon scribbles on the other side of the rock wall, crazy neighbor suffering from narcissism. So that's from where I look at things. So, since we're in the full swing of the American holiday, what are we consciously perpetuating? And I'm advocating to normalize handmade gifts, digital gifts, regifting, secondhand gifts, consumable gifts, experience gifts, small business gifts. Here in Hilo specifically, there is tomorrow night the Liliuokalani Gardens garden enchantment lights, Christmas lights from 6 to 9 p.m. They do still need volunteers urgently at the Animal for Action Hawaii. They do trainings on Sundays at 2 p.m. for play, pet, or walking the shelter dogs. You can contact them at a4ahawaii@gmail.com. So, going forward, you are responsible. If you travel beyond this point, you will be responsible for cost of search and rescue, personal responsibility code. Me personally, I call him Mahadeva, Mahaparamashiva, Shiva, Har Har Mahadev.
Welcome to 25 days of force majeure Christmas. Whether you're naughty or nice, force majeure, but it comes with full personal responsibility, which include establishing an immigration, consulate, embassy of your nation. Full personal responsibility. And for those who are naughty, it is not a get out of jail free card. There are legal repercussions, whether you choose to be in Hawaii Kingdom or America. Force majeure Christmas, whether you're naughty or nice.
Snapchat has a lot of fun video reels that you can make things with, and so I was playing with the Snapchat. So the different layers and layers and layers of legalities gets very interesting, that's for sure, when doing research and going into that history and going back and going backwards and backwards and backwards. And the most interesting thing is that process really enslaves the future, right? There must be a better way to live. And so that's why for me, despite looking at different Western constructs, I gravitate more towards the Hindu enlightenment based ecosystems, where it's based on Varana, which is nature and character, and not Jati, which is birth and nepotism. That is the very big difference between the social constructs. And so when it comes to making decisions and such and looking, yes, I'm sharing all of these findings, but that's not the direction I want to go in, right? There are many who are doing whatever they're doing, but yeah. So, like I mentioned, is it intelligent to go into college debt slavery, to pledge allegiance to the bar, British accredited regency, to practice American law? Right? That's a legit question if you're on the continental US, but my feet are in the realm called Hawaii. So practicing American law in Hawaii Kingdom during occupation and war, when laws of war and international law applies. So there are bonds that are blank checks by the British side of the US, and then there are the regular bonds and such of the constitutional American citizen US. I'm still in the process of trying to figure out where this is, but fundamentally all of it is based on Christianity, because that's that country's holy book that they base their things on. And so basically when you really look at it, and what I've found is it's all just colonizers running away from their narcissistic abuser, but still having those cognitive dissonance and then preference or comfort zone for those constructs. And then there's that cognitive dissonance really that happens because Earth peoples are truly the land of the free, meaning they're very inclusive. They connect and spiritually connect in a dynamic range and not just a cookie cutter. As well as there was no tax, there was no gels. They had their own methods to handle people feeling left out or having ego problems. So when looking at those kind of constructs, it's all unique. And because they're unique, they're not the same. You can't say the same, whether it's countries or religions or traditions. So I'm going to be sharing, like I was able to get a hold of the graphic that he made for his Dr. Shiva, who is running for president as an independent. How I found him and just presenting him as who he is finding his swarm video, which I want to share. This video is very much piecing together all the pieces that many of us are looking at and puts it into a very comprehensive explanation and worth watching. So before I move forward, I would like to share this video again.
Good evening, everyone. It's Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai.
How a very small set of people control 8 billion people.
This is what I call Good evening, everyone. It's Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. How a very small set of people control 8 billion people. This is what I call the elite. Let's say there's about 10,000 of them. How is it these people are able to manipulate the 8 billion people here? If you talk to a lot of naive people, they think, oh, it's the Rothschilds over here, or it's the aliens. They don't understand. It's not any one individual. It's not any one organization. There's something called swarm intelligence. If you watch all those birds flying together, not any one of them is in control. They move together as a unit. They're closely knit. They're quote unquote telepathic, but they move with a singular goal. The goal of the elites here is power, profit, and control. This is the goal. So if we look at it from a control system, what are the inputs they're sending into this system to achieve their goals? And what is the output that they seek? So if you're an elite over here and you're looking at those 8 billion people, how do you know you're achieving your goal? Are people getting fat, meaning unhealthy? Are people getting dumb, which means ignorant? Are people happy, which means are they being entertained? Are people divided? Are they isolated, disconnected? They don't want people here connecting with each other. Are people feeling helpless? Are people looking to the elites to save them? And they like that. They like when people here are looking to them, the enemy here, for their saviors. They really love. You're not part of that. So who are these people? And what are the institutions of power that they have? Well, first of all, they have academia. Harvard, Oxford, Yale, MIT, IIT in India, the top 100 university presidents. These people are on boards of companies, but it's about 100 people who run the major universities in the world. NGOs, or nonprofits. These are people who run these huge nonprofit organizations like the Clinton Global Initiative, WEF, World Economic Forum, Center for Foreign Relations. And there's many other institutions like these, but it's the CEOs of these institutions. And these guys know each other. They definitely work together. The next thing you have is you have government, US senators, prime ministers of countries, advisors to government, think tanks, the Belfer School at Harvard, the Stanford Internet Observatory. They created the censorship infrastructure. This includes CIA, right? Intelligence organizations. And again, all these people know each other. They're interconnected. They're a swarm. They're tightly knit. They're not divided like these people over here. They're not disconnected. They're highly interconnected. So these people are focused on power. But then you also have a whole nother con. You'll find that at one point they were in one of these investment companies, and these investment companies sit on the board of these companies, and they shuffle back and forth. So this is all about making money, right? These people are about making the dollar. These people are all about power. This is profit. And then fundamentally, you have control. Hollywood over here. This includes celebrities. You have their agents, Hollywood agents, like Ari Emanuel, as I've talked about, who's a guy who controls most of Hollywood. He controls Worldwide Wrestling Federation, the MMA, etc. The media companies. This includes Disney, Viacom. This includes now Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. These are large media companies. Google, you can put in there also. You also have big news stations, CNN, Fox. And combined with this, now we have another group, social media influencers. This is like Joe Rogan, Tucker Carlson, these characters who have come in, but they do not exist without support from these guys. If you notice, overnight, a bunch of social media influencers have come out of nowhere. And these people are created by these people. So when you look at this, the academics, the NGOs, the government, the think tanks, the investment companies, the Fed, the big pharma, the CEOs, the Hollywood celebrities, media, social media influencers, and the news companies, and you can even take the top 10 of each one of these, they all know each other, everyone. And in order to manipulate these people, they need front men to manipulate these people with policies. Because what comes out are policies. These are the inputs they put into the system, propaganda. They feed these people purposely, people who they tell them are going to save them, like the Elon Musks or Trump or the Kennedys. Now, who are the people part of the swarm that does that? They have the obvious establishment. And these people are like the Clintons or the McConnells or the Obamas or the Bushes or the Queen of England. Typically people say, oh yeah, those guys are part of the establishment. But one of the things we teach at Truth, Freedom, Health, the most insidious people are what I call the not so obvious establishment. See people with cancer. The world's population's life expectancy is going down. The United States is going this way. This is from 1980 to 2020. They like this. This is life expectancy. In fact, when they see dysfunction, you know what they do? They put another input in, which is normalize the dysfunction. Eat sugars and high fructose food. Well, over here, people have been literally getting fat. It's led to obesity. Or they've been putting in foods that are affecting people's gut microbiome. This is what I call from policy to biology. People are getting worse and worse. They're actually making more money because the obesity obesity now creates obesity drugs. The endocrine disruptors, let's talk about this. This will really explain what's going on with Bud Light. About 20 years ago, there was research done at the universities that clearly showed the use of restricted use pesticides like atrazine and other chemicals in the atmosphere actually cause endocrine disruption, which could reduce male testosterone, which could also affect mammals where the sex organs can change. And this was done by the work of Tyrone Hayes. So if you're over here at a university and you find out one of your researchers discovered that, and you are playing golf with people over here at Syngenta is the one who produced atrazine, they're going to say, hey man, we don't want this research coming out, because you have to understand something. The investment community here is investing in all of these companies. So if you're one of these large investment companies, you're moving trillions of dollars. $600 trillion, by the way, move through the economy every day. You, as one of the elites managers of money, you're moving all this money. You know all of these people. You know the CEO of Target, you know the CEO of Anheuser-Busch, you know the CEO of Pfizer and Syngenta. And imagine that you see, wow, the stuff that we've been creating is causing sexual disruption changes. You're seeing a phenomenon where more and more people are questioning their sexuality. And what you want to do is you want to make sure that the general public doesn't understand this, because if they did, they would awaken to something that's going on from the decisions you made. So you call up your friend, Bud Light, he goes, hey, look, let's run a campaign. Let's normalize trans. Let's exploit a willing person to be exploited like this Dylan Mulvaney. Let's put them on as a poster boy for Bud Light, and let's push them out there, because we want the attention to normalize a dysfunction, because the goal is to make sure they don't lose their trillions over in Syngenta. They're willing to take $1 billion hit over here, but they want to save their trillions in big pharma and big ag, because they're all part of the same family. They all do favors for each other. And then again, you would go do it at Target. You try to normalize it, because you don't want people over here to understand the bigger picture. But you are interconnected. You could strike deals left and right. Let's do a marketing campaign in here. Let's normalize. Same thing if you can look at what's going on in obesity. All these pharma companies are making big money from obesity drugs, but there's movies on Netflix and Amazon promoting fat people as a norm. What's happening over here, you have people who are pro-fat and people who are anti-fat people. You have people pro-woke and anti-woke, and they don't care. So you have a bunch of these idiots writing books against woke companies and anti-woke companies. You have people creating apps, only shop at anti-woke companies, don't go to woke companies. But you guys understand that these guys don't give a damn? They're making money anyway. The investment bankers are going to make money from woke companies and anti-woke companies. But what's occurring here is people are being divided. These guys are happy because they're inputting policies and propaganda. People here are being divided, and that is the goal, to achieve power, profit, control. So as long as these people work together as a swarm to control the policies and the propaganda, and they provide false heroes, and they're using the Trumps, the Kennedys, and Gaudis, all of them who talk a big game, their goal is to make sure that you never understand this, that you keep thinking, oh, Kennedy's going to solve the problem. Trump is going to solve the problem. They don't want you to be leaders in your own communities. They want you to outsource your future to people like Trump or Kennedy, because they're part of the swarm. And you keep getting more unhealthy, more ignorant, more entertained. But most importantly, you are divided. People here don't organize themselves to smash these people up. And this is the history of human oppression. They have it down to a system, a goal. They have a controller. They have specific inputs. And they manipulate billions of people to achieve this state. They produce dysfunction. They don't give a damn if you die. The life expectancy in the United States, your children are going to die sooner than you. And they've achieved their goal. They don't give a damn. Do you understand? These people are eating organic foods. They get the best restaurants. They get the best insurance. They get the best healthcare. And this is what they want to achieve. And that's how they're controlling people. The other way they're controlling you is they want you to keep looking to the elites like Trump and Kennedy and all these people to save you. They want you to look to the swarm. They do not want you to ever support a Malcolm X or a Dr. Shiva or you. They don't want you to become leaders. And this is a goal. As long as you're divided, as long as you're looking over here, you're going to achieve their goal of power, profit, and control. So what's the way out? How do we win? The first way we win, everyone's got to be aware of the science of systems. Without this understanding, there are goals, there are controllers, there are systems, there are intelligences, there are dumb systems. You are never going to break out of this, because you will think everything is, oh my God, we got to talk about aliens and UFOs and flat earth or this. All those may be interesting topics, but they don't come down to the fundamentals of understanding this. And the only way out of this is people here have got to understand the principles of system science. And the good news is you can learn this at Truth Freedom Health. So first of all, learn these principles at Truth Freedom Health. There's the only place. This is my gift to people. We've made it accessible to all your children. Any person who goes through the course, you can give it to your children. Anyone can learn this. But the goal is go to Truth Freedom Health and you will understand the science of systems. So we've created that weapon. And with this weapon, this is a hammer here. We have a way to smash this swarm. But without the understanding of this, without you understanding this system science, without you understanding the knowledge of systems, you will never break out of this. Please volunteer. Go to shivaforpresident.com, volunteer. And by the way, when you donate, I don't like to take people's money for nothing. I give you books and courses and access to the entire community at truthfreedomhealth.com. So please take advantage of that if you want to donate. But if you don't want to donate, volunteer. We're going to be getting on the ballot in all the states. So we need people on the ground. So go to Shiva for President, numeral 4president.com, and volunteer, volunteer, volunteer. Our campaign is about mobilizing you. We have a whole program that we want to train you to be a leader. So we get connected. We're no longer helpless. We stop looking to these fools like Kennedy and Trump and all these other people, because where have they gotten us? They're part of the system, no longer divided, but we're united with the interests that we have to face their propaganda and destroy them and to no longer follow false heroes. And that's what this is about. Because the way we're going now, as I've talked about, those in power want to kill you. It's not a hyperbole. They want to kill you. The movement for Truth, Freedom, Health and our campaign for Shiva for President is about making sure you live long and prosper. And the only way to do it is you have to become aware of this, recognizing that there's a systems process. Fortunately, truthfreedomhealth.com exists. I wish I didn't have to go do this. In fact, our parents should have done this first. But anyway, Truth Freedom Health exists. Our campaign exists. So go to shivaforpresident.com, become a volunteer, become a warrior scholar at truthfreedomhealth.com. Every Thursdays at 11 a.m. and at 8 p.m. I do a open house, and we have our 8 p.m. town halls for our campaign. Please join them. You can RSVP at vashiva.com/orientation. The other important you can do where we start taking control of our lives, that you start supporting one of us. I'm one of you, leaders, bottoms up. I didn't grow up in a Kennedy compound. I didn't grow up with golden plated toilet seats. I grew up like you guys. And as a part of that, make sure that you share this video. Hit the share button. Make sure you retweet it. Make sure you click the notify. Make sure you put comments on, because you know that I've been exposing their false heroes, Elon Musk and the Kennedys and all their not so obvious establishment people. So their retribution is to shadow ban me. My tweets used to get 500,000 views per day. Today, I'm lucky if I get 5,000 views per day. And then they put keywords if something starts going viral to stop that. So the way you can help is sign up as a volunteer so we get on the ground. The future is offline. I need you to go share these videos, get it out there, and become a Truth, Freedom, Health warrior. That's the ways you guys can help, contribute. Anyway, there you go. So anyway, I hope this is valuable. Be the light, shivaforpresident.com, truthfreedomhealth.com. Thank you, everyone. Be well. Be the light. Have a good night. Have a good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are.
So that's how I found Dr. Shiva. That video, swarm video, came across, and because for those who are looking, even for me, trying to piece all of this together, and with the limited actual going to that front line, not able to see the full picture, and the way that he put it together was a very eye-opening. And so that's the first video I saw, and then as I was looking through his content and the extent of which lawsuits, because of the freedom of speech and such, even for me too, because I'm looking at all kinds of things, even my content is being censored and erased, and continuously erased, deleted with no questions, or not question, no reasons, and I'm not able to dispute them, as well as being all kinds of things being done to limit me, as well as because of the dynamic spectrum I stand in, and actively voicing for personal liberty, and looking around, that there's too much superiority complexes going around. But going back to freedom of speech and what happened and is still happening to Dr. Shiva, and what he has found with lawsuits regarding when he was running for Senate. I believe this was for his running for Senate. He was shut down by Twitter. And so I'm going to share that video of his story of that and sharing of this, and how there are certain people placed in many positions that it's conspiracy truth essentially. So
good evening, everyone. It's Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. It is 6:30 p.m. This is going to be a very tight and condensed broadcast to bring all of you up to date on our historic lawsuit, but more importantly, what we've uncovered. And for the last 3 to 4 weeks, we were working on our revised second amended complaint, which is what the judge wanted by order. And we were adding the new discoveries we've made. And what I wanted to share with you is that our lawsuit is a... And again, we don't expect any of the media to cover it, because the media will only cover buffoons who don't really want to fight it, like Trump, okay? Trump is about making money off everything. Our lawsuit, which is being supported by you, is not about making money. It's actually about winning. So on October 30th is when we discovered this infrastructure. On May 20th and 21st, the night before that, in our 20 hours of hearing, the night before that, where I was representing myself against 7 lawyers, the night before that, we discovered the playbooks. The playbooks, which were written by the defendants in my lawsuit, which expose the actual system that they've created to silence speech of every American. And then more recently, one of our volunteers discovered the long fuse report, written by these same election officials and government actors who think that they will tell all of us how they want the world to be. And in particular, they are committed to violating the First Amendment. And that's what our lawsuit alleges in that. So I'm going to walk you through our lawsuit. Then I'm going to share with you the diagram. Every line in that diagram is backed up by facts that anyone can find publicly. And it is, for the first time, we're going to share this about the infrastructure, the enterprise that election officials and government actors winbackfreedom.com. Winbackfreedom.com. If you type in right here, winbackfreedom.com, you will find all the elements of this historic lawsuit there for everyone to read. And I encourage all of you to go read it. We're going to read a section of it right now so all of you understand what's going on. It is a 75-page lawsuit that I worked with our attorneys to put together. And it's a very important document because every American, everyone on the planet should read this. But I guess it takes unfortunately, they don't expect, nerds or quote unquote engineers or scientists like myself to ever run for office, because this is all controlled by a bunch of elites who get to run for office and it's their insiders. But because I decided to run for office with all of your support, because they try to screw us, and because we were relentless, we have figured out how they basically have created an infrastructure with the desire to violate the First Amendment. And that's what I want to go over with you today. All right, so let me begin by encouraging everyone, first of all, to go to winbackfreedom.com. And I want to also emphasize to everyone that I want everyone to go to winbackfreedom.com, and I want to walk you through what we put together for all of you, because you guys asked for this and wanted it. and we've delivered. So if you go, first of all, I want everyone to donate $1 because I want you to be part of this. All right. So it says on July 22nd, 2021, Dr. Shiva, per order from the court, filed a revised second amended complaint, which includes the latest discovery of the domestic censorship infrastructure, a 24/7 speech surveillance system to surveil, blacklist, and silence Americans created by the RICO defendants. Our case is a RICO case, all right? And these defendants have worked with Twitter, with the Harvard Belfer Center, with the Department of Homeland Security, CISA, and billionaires, including Pierre Omidyar and Mark Zuckerberg. All of these, none of these people are elected by you or I. Introduction, and you have all the details. So I'm going to read the first few pages, and I want everyone to listen carefully so all of you understand what's really going on in the United States. And the fact is that we've lost freedom. So let me begin here. It starts by saying, this case is about the government surveilling and blacklisting a minority. To all the left elite liberals, yeah, I'm a minority, okay? Who you so claim that you want, you're so much against racism. But the elites are the ones who are surveilling and blacklisting a minority, a political candidate, Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai, Dr. Shiva, as many of you know me as, and then eventually silencing his speech in the midst of his U.S. Senate campaign. Because, why do they do it? Because I criticize government officials, which is, by the way, the most afforded speech by the First Amendment. And thereby they violated my First Amendment rights, the foundational principle of the United States. Starting in June of 2020, Dr. Shiva, a candidate for U.S. Senate, as many of you know, in Massachusetts, was one of the top 6 individuals. This is what came out of the Long Fuse report, which we discovered on June 29th. The Long Fuse report. So it's a 300-page report. I'm listed in there 22 times, ranked as equal to Trump as a repeat spreader. Okay, quite amazing. But I'm not funded by billionaires. I'm not funded. I'm not in the left wing or right wing camp. If anything, the Republican GOP does not want an independent base. But what the report said, I was one of the top 6 individuals in the United States who had been identified in the Long Fuse report as an influence operator. So that's per the playbooks. Remember, the defendants created a playbook, okay? And as an influence operator in the playbook, okay? Let me bring this down again. Created by the difference. And it said that I was under 24/7 surveillance by teams working 4-hour shifts. This is starting as early as June 2020. And they were using an infrastructure of technology and relationships as shown in Exhibit A, and I'm going to bring that up, co-architected by these defendants. But before I go there, let me just continue reading this, okay? What this says is, starting in October of 2017, government officials concluded that though the nature of U.S. elections was decentralized, which means spread across 100,000 jurisdictions and using different kinds of, machines, diverse methods, paper and electronic. And they actually admitted the fact that we had all these different kinds of machines was actually the best way to do cyber hacking. Decentralization is good, they admitted. And this was at a March 21, 2018 U.S. Senate Intelligence Committee hearing. These are people like Amy Cohen. These are people like Eric Rosenbach. And they said, yeah, it's the decentralization is actually good. No one can hack it. But they said they needed to eliminate such decentralization because it was a hindrance to their desire to establish and use a centralized infrastructure with non-government allies. Can you go get the big report, Doug? To fill the gap between domestic government agencies who had no power to curtail speech and federal intelligence agencies who were forbidden from curtailing domestic speech in order to censor speech by surveilling, blacklisting, and silencing U.S. citizens domestically. You see, the First Amendment doesn't allow them to watch you or I and silence us. So in order to go around that, they created this infrastructure I'm going to show you, and thus allow government officials to violate the First Amendment. So what is that infrastructure? No, Doug, the book. Yeah. So Doug's going to bring the Long Fuse report. So let me explain what I'm just saying here. That what we discovered, as you know, is that in October 30th, 2020, in my own lawsuit, it was a government that contacted Twitter to shut me down. So just to give you the background, what happened in September? On September 24th, I released 4 email conversations on Twitter, which exposed the fact that the state election director and the Secretary of State, Massachusetts, delete ballot images, which is a violation of federal law. Now, they could have disagreed with me and, tweeted back at me, but that's not what they did. When I put the 4 emails exposing the state election director and her name on those emails, she contacted, through this enterprise, the executive director of the National Association of State Election Directors, who use this infrastructure. They were all acting like Mickey the Duns. Oh, we don't know. Shiva just put out a tweet. No, they had created an infrastructure, which again, I'm going to show you shortly. Using that infrastructure, Twitter jumps when government calls, because Twitter needs government. Why does Twitter need government? Well, Twitter needs Section 230. And when government calls, Twitter jumps. Otherwise, their stock valuation tanks if they lose Section 230. All right? So, when I put up those 4 email screenshots on September 25th, the state election director, who's a lawyer, and we found out she's not just a lawyer, she sits on the executive committee of the CISA Government Coordinating Council. She, who has a degree in history, sits on the board of the MIT Data and Elections Council laboratory. She's also a member of the U.S. Election Assistance Commission. She's everywhere. So when she, with her force, her name behind it, contacted Twitter, Twitter had no choice but to remove a U.S. Senate candidate. And what's that infrastructure I'm talking about? That our lawsuit is the first to discover. And this is why all of you must become citizens journalists and share this. So let me bring that up. All right? Again, this is the first time you're going to see this diagram, and it's going to blow your mind because it's sick. It's disgusting what's happened to this country. Here we go. Okay? What do you see here? What you see in this diagram, it's titled How It Works. How election officials and government actors coordinate with platforms to silence speech. I'm going to walk you through this. Well, here is this woman up here, Michelle Tassinari. We did 4 protests outside Tassinari and Galvin's office. And so, but when I shared those 4 email screenshots, she unleashed her infrastructure. I was a canary in the coal mine, everyone, that they tested their infrastructure because they're getting ready to go after members of Congress. So let's look at this. All right, so there is Miss Michelle Tassinari. Over here is her job. Her job as state election director is to coordinate elections in towns, certify voting machines. It's not to silence a U.S. Senate candidate. She did this because I was exposing her and her boss, Galvin. Well, look at this other job she has over here, all these other roles she has. She's a president of Manasseh. She's the advisory board member on the MIT Elections Data and Science Lab. She's on the executive committee of CISA. What is CISA? And everyone better learn what CISA is, because your dear old fellow, Donald Trump, who claims that he's for protecting us, he's the one who signed CISA into law. CISA is an organization out of Department of, and there she's a member of the Bipartisan Policy Center. And guess who funds that? Okay, well, it's funded by Pierre Omidyar, okay, a billionaire. All right, a nonprofit. None of these people are elected, by the way. You and I didn't elect any of these people, all right? So she's on there with these other election commissioners. She's over here with this fool, Charles Stewart, who's a professor at MIT. And Charles Stewart at MIT with Ben Hovland, who also is a commissioner of the Elections Commission, okay? Or Elections Assistance Commission. So Tassinari's pretty wired in. And over here, Tassinari shows up because she worked at the Belfer Center as an author of the playbook, as our lawsuit brings out, okay? But who's over at the Belfer Center? Well, look over here. We'll talk about Amy Cohen, but Robbie Mook, okay, Clinton's campaign. But this is bipartisan, everyone. Here's Tommy Hicks, who's a commissioner of the EAC, but here's Matt Rhodes, was good buddy one. Go look at the March 21st hearing. But when he gave the March 21st hearing, he's there with Cohen and John Kondos, okay, who's a former head of NAS. Now, all these three people are very, all together with Amy Cohen. Amy Cohen is the executive director of the National Association of State Election Directors, NASID, which is a force of 50 state election directors, a government actor. So on September 25th, when I put out that tweet, Tassinari contacted Cohen, and it's all in court testimony. She unleashed this infrastructure, and this is what I want everyone to understand. When you look at this infrastructure, what do you see here? What you see here is these people here and these folks here all believe that we need to stop misinformation, quote unquote, and quote unquote disinformation. Nowhere in their discourse is who the hell is deciding what's misinformation and disinformation. Right? It's as though they get to decide. Not that this country was built on the marketplace of ideas, diversity of ideas, real diversity. All of these people, many of them are the same ones who speak out against quote unquote racism. But I'm a brown-skinned Indian guy, a minority, and they did not want me. They wanted me sorts of wild ideas in the open marketplace of ideas. These guys do not like that. In the Long Fuse report, which I recommend everyone gets, in the first pages of this report, it says that we need to figure out a way to go around the First Amendment because we can't silence domestic speech, but we must create, let me read this to you. It says it right here, okay? It's quite amazing what this says. It says in this document that they need to create non-governmental entities to fill the gap, okay? This is what it says. It says U.S. elections are decentralized. Almost 100 state and local election officials are primarily responsible for the operation of elections. Dozens of federal agencies support this effort. However, none of these federal agencies has a focus or an authority regarding election misinformation originating from domestic sources, which is you and I within the United States. This limited federal role reveals a critical gap for non-government entities to fulfill. They're saying that we need to launder censorship. So what they did, everyone, what our lawsuit, again, was the first to discover, and by the way, Tucker Carlson won't cover this because he'll just talk about when it's necessary to get your eyeballs. Stop following that fool, little preppy boy. Okay, what you see here is that these people, these non-governmental government actors, okay, since 2017, have been creating these blueprint documents. They're all right here, all publicly available. But I guess it takes a guy who still values the First Amendment to connect the dots. These documents are the place, an infrastructure called the Election Infrastructure ISAC, brought to you by a nonprofit agency, which guess who funds that? Look over here, Pure Omidyar, okay? Through the Democracy Fund. So, and this organization works with the Partner Support Portal, and these people also work with a bunch of people over here at the Election Integrity Project over at Stanford. And in fact, one of those fellows in January of 2020, I noticed someone went on my Wikipedia page and said that Dr. Shiva is a pseudoscientist. Totally defamatory. Forget the fact I busted, for all those degrees, have published in Nature and Cell, but this fool, and we know his name because you can go look it up, Ashwin Ramaswamy, it's all facts. Okay, this fool who thinks he's, the nerd of the century, that he knows better than everyone. This guy, Charles Stewart, and Amy Cohen, by the way, let's talk about her. Amy Cohen, again, I don't know how she becomes an expert in cybersecurity. She's giving a talk at the department, at the Senate Intelligence Committee. She's also over here on the Global Cyber Alliance advisory member. And she works with all these people. One of the people she knows through this is the director at Associated Press, because he's also on here. And when I said, look, ballot images were deleted, guess who did the hit job on me? AP, Associated Press. Guess who gave an interview over there saying that ballot images don't need to be preserved? This guy, Charles Stewart. This is the enterprise that we're talking about. They had an enterprise that was used to not only silence me, they were surveillancing me, blacklisting me, but when I exposed the fact that a state election director had violated federal law, and forget even that, just the fact I criticized her, and to protect herself, because she knew I had lots of followers, she knew I'm running for Senate, she unleashed this infrastructure to silence a U.S. Senate political candidate. We have every right, that's what the First Amendment allows us, to critique our government. And I'm running on top of it for U.S. Senate. So they don't want this diagram coming out, but every line in this diagram, every interconnection, right? You can look it up yourselves. You may have a different opinion. But finally, what I want to end with is over here, you see these three little people over here. When Michelle Tasnari contacted Amy Cohen to silence me, that went over to Twitter. Well, right here is a woman called Stacia Cardilla. She is the deputy general counsel at Twitter. She filed a false affidavit. She said, we decided to take Dr. Shiva off. The government had nothing to do with it. Remember, I was taken off on September 24th, all the way into my election was over on November 3rd. After that, I was back on Twitter. And then when I again shared those 4 screenshots on February 1st in a class I was teaching, bang, I'm taken off again within 17 minutes. Well, this woman, Stacia Cardilla, lied through her teeth in her affidavit, and we brought it up to the judge. She said, Twitter decided to take Dr. Shiva off. We first did a review, and then we did this. It took 3 days. Well, I was taken off in 17 minutes. I brought that up to the judge. And she acted as though she didn't even know who Tasnari was. Well, guess what? We found a document saying that she participated in a winter conference. The NASA. Donald Trump takes a real solution, and I supported him. I gave him money. I put up signs for him. But he takes a real solution, and then he gives a fake solution. He takes a real problem and delivers a fake solution. He makes money, guys. That's what he's about. Our movement, by volunteers, by people like you, is actually about going after them and making them accountable. They try to get away with what's called qualified immunity. These people knew what they did. There's case law saying they should not be doing that, and yet they did it. And you know why this is happening? Because the American people have been outsourcing their activism to scumbags called Republicans and Democrats, to Bernies and Trumps. I'm sorry, that's the way it is. I have to tell you the truth. So it's time that you all become part of a movement, a bottoms-up movement. Go look at the history of the American working class. We didn't get anything given to us. It was through struggle, through building movements. You know what you want to think about? Think about The Godfather, a bunch of, the Dons sitting around a table. And in the old days, they split up territories. You know what they split up today? They split up narratives. Okay, Hillary Clinton, you get climate change, or AOC, you get to talk about climate change. Donald Trump, you get to own election fraud. He's not going to do anything. He'll just talk about it and make money, okay? Hey, you get to own this area. You get to own Russian collusion. That's what they're doing. The Republicans and Democrats split up black and white. They split us across left and right. They never will do anything. Our lawsuit is the most historic lawsuit. We were the first to expose this. And what we need to do is build the movement. You will not find this diagram anywhere else. This is pure truth. It is truth because what we're sharing here is in our lawsuit. Everyone should go check it out in the lawsuit. Everything is in there. We are sharing to save this country. Step 1, we've lost the First Amendment. I was a canary in the coal mine that they tested this on. The next is going to be a member of Congress. And go to winbackfreedom.com, donate $1, be part of this movement, because without freedom, there will be no access to truth, there'll be no health, and it's game, set, match. But most importantly, the reason they want to censor us is they want to cut the neck off real diversity. The diversity that they talk about, black, yellow, white, whatever, transgender, that's not real diversity. Real diversity is a diversity of ideas. Places like Harvard have created a multiracial aristocracy. They got black people, yellow people, but they all think the same way. That's what they want. The issue is we need a diversity of ideas, real diversity. Let go of Republican and Democrat. That's what this is about. I'll come back tomorrow, but go to winbackfreedom.com. $1. It's easy for you to be part of this movement, but study this lawsuit. It's the second, third PhD, okay? Thank you. Be well. Hello, everyone. It's Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. Today, we're going to be making another historic step forward in our movement for truth, freedom, health, specifically to protect the First Amendment. About 2 years ago, it was our historic lawsuit, many of you may know, in 2020, where we discovered the government and big tech censorship infrastructure. If you go to winbackfreedom.com, this site that we developed has had all the materials up there for over 2 years since 2020. And that's where we exposed this entire infrastructure that was set up by the government to enable the government to do an end run around the First Amendment to launder censorship to big tech companies to silence U.S. citizens. Now, in 2020, as a U.S. citizen running for a U.S. senator, I was silenced by the censorship infrastructure. And it's made it nearly impossible for me to run for any political office, be it U.S. senator, be it governor, etc. And today, we're taking a step forward in fighting this censorship by beginning the process of filing a lawsuit against the federal government itself, specifically the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, C-I-S-A, which was actually created by Trump. And I'm sending this letter pursuant to FTCA, which is called the Federal Torts Claim Act, FTCA, to sue the federal government. And in order to sue them, I have to notify them that I'm suing them. That's what this notice of claim is. This notice, the signed notice of claim, does that. And it says to Director Easterly, who's a director of the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, it says that the agency you direct, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA engineered the government and big tech censorship infrastructure that I discovered in late 2020 and which I informed the public of during 2020 to 2021. Now, many of you know we did tons of videos back then, tons of lectures and symposia. About 200 million people got this information during 2020 to 2021. What happened was CISA weaponized this infrastructure, the censorship infrastructure, to launder censorship to big tech companies like Twitter, Google, and Facebook, so as to do an end run around the First Amendment. Now, the second paragraph of our letter says, on February 1st, 2021 at 21:48 p.m., which is actually 9:48 p.m. EST, that's when CISA employed this infrastructure against me, a U.S. Senate candidate, to deplatform me from Twitter, resulting in significant damages, which to this day are still ongoing. CISA's actions have made it near impossible for me to run for any office, U.S. Senator, Governor of Massachusetts, etc. Given my inability to use Twitter, as many people know, Twitter is like the platform for politics on which I had nearly 400,000 followers that provided me an important vehicle to communicate and raise monies for my election campaigns. Then it says, pursuant to Federal Torts Claim Act, FTCA, I'm submitting the attached standard form 95 along with the cover letter as my written notice of claim to CISA, as required within 2 years of the accrual of the claim. The estimated damages are $10 million. Kindly let me know if you need further information. Yours sincerely, Dr. Shiva Ayyadurai. So there we go. That's the letter signed on November 11, 2022, and we've already sent it to them via certified mail return receipt. By the way, attached to this letter is also a form which lists all the other important details, including witnesses that they can call. The bottom line is, everyone, we are moving forward now with a federal lawsuit against the federal government, in this case, the United States government, specifically the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, CISA, which is the one which created this infrastructure. They weaponize this infrastructure to do an end run around the First Amendment. And as I've shared with many of you before, my parents came here from India in 1970, and I remember getting off the plane and asking my dad, why did we come here? And he said one word: freedom. And that's what this is about. So I hope everyone gets behind this, shares it with all your friends in your community. Go to winbackfreedom.com to support this new effort. Go to also truthfreedomandhealth.com and become a Truth, Freedom, and Health Warrior Scholar. So you start understanding systems thinking, the same systems thinking that allowed me to uncover this infrastructure. It is this systems thinking that will offer you a solution, and that is the Truth, Freedom, and Health system. So thank you, everyone. Be well. Keep an eye out. Go to winbackfreedom.com as well as truthfreedomhealth.com. Thank you.
as you can see, how the government, I put those individuals in color so you can see how widespread that they hold these positions in multiple areas to make all of that work. And basically it's just, yeah, for me, I'm speechless on the extent of caging, right? You can say conspiracy, this is conspiracy truth. And the conspiracy is against everyone, not just Dr. Shiva. Even for me, I'm experiencing it. So it becomes a very serious situation for Americans, for anyone who's seeking liberty, absolute liberty, because there's only I want to say there's only two ways of being, but the thing is that the level of autonomy, empowered autonomy, is not there globally, right? Especially for the spectrum I'm advocating for, families to govern themselves again. So I'm gonna share it, hopefully this one you can see larger, but go to the website. Go to the website, Win Freedom. What is that? What is it again? winbackfreedom.com. So it's very, very organized. It's an organized crime. Very organized. And when he was sharing about, like, out of nowhere, these social media influencers, right? And I'm noticing there is another push even on the health spectrum of, out of nowhere, social media influencers. Now, this is where, from the Hindu perspective of intellectual theft that's being done for centuries, it's when you have people forget their roots and other people who are willingly disrespecting and part of that theft, just like the Congolese, we are all complicit in their enslavement. So, yeah, it gets very, very interesting when it comes to all of that. And how is that important? Because globally speaking, I will share Swamiji for 13 years struggled because of with attacks, not just social media attacks or even blacklisting, but actual direct attacks on his ashrams or his temples because of power manifestation. He's teaching about power manifestation, which is a birthright. And with the even more social media attacks or whatnot, fake news, those were removed recently. Let me find so that you can see that as well. Because of Kailas is a new nation, recognized by the UN. Now, my feelings about the UN aside, recognizes Kailasa as a nation and contributing to the globally with free education. And so with that, hold on 1 second. Trying to find that announcement that they had. Can't find it. Well, anyway, with all the news globally, in defamation, they removed their articles and content, but Kailasa is actually seeking apologies and reparation, because what happened was, with those false fake news, attacks started happening on their ashrams again. But with this recent announcement, without apology, they did remove 80 plus deep fake videos taken down. They were taken down, and these are morphed videos of false accusations of rape, and the lawsuits that were frivolous and thrown out or found not guilty, with monies to be paid for damages. We're dealing with history, right? And families. And now those families hide behind corporate names or entities. And so that's chameleon, you can call it shape shifting, whatever you want to call it, right? And it's not imaginary boogeyman, it's real and legit. So, and these same people are posturing, and this is where I don't really care for the UN. They're posturing because what does the UN do? They just referee war and manage and it earn money from death and suffering of others. So that's why force majeure works for anyone and everyone who is in a war zone. It's an applicable remedy. But the thing is when everything's falling apart and whatnot, right? So how do you talk to the UN? That's why I'm saying the things I'm saying, and I'm not sure how to go and talk to them. And it's not even them, it's more or less like, I agree with Dr. Shiva, it's a it has to come from the being and a movement. But you got people with control freak issues. So what do you do when, how do you can't really appeal to the morality of someone who sees nothing wrong with their boot on your throat, right? What do you do? And well, now they have terms like narcissism, because that's the source of it. It's the source of that. That is the source of it. The behavior patterns, speech patterns, words used to maintain slavery and those kind of constructs. So for Hawaii specifically, the Article 37 Hawaii Kingdom is in martial law. It doesn't matter which constitution you look at. There's different people who gravitate towards different constitutions. The most recent constitution is the one that should be used, but there's all different opinions. And what's very interesting is when you look at the global colonizers' constructs that have genocided everywhere, they have, and even in the laws of war, it's interesting where the attacker occupier must administer the military government. So, Hawaii needs to somehow, and everyone is personally responsible for being here. If you are in Hawaii, that's something that needs to be done in, to be honorable, essentially, to get the U.S. to declare martial law. This is where Keanu Sai is advocating the state of Hawaii be the intermediate military government, but if they really had that heart, it would have already been done by now since the Apology Bill in 1993. So, but what's very interesting is that the world thinks Hawaii is America when it's not, because in the laws of war, acquisition of a country through the occupier or attacker's Congress is not a legal option, and that's essentially what happened. There is no treaty of annexation, and because there is no mo'i or king or queen sitting on the throne, a peace treaty is it's a checkmate situation. Now, I understand that right now with all of these subjugation strategies in place, waiting it out by the next generation, there aren't going to be very many warriors to stand up for their rights, just like the First Amendment. I'm very grateful to Dr. Shiva for standing up and for the right for the First Amendment. Even for me, it's not the easiest walk because of the extreme levels of freedom of speech that even I, with my being, just say and state. And that's like a different spectrum than running for president. That's something that's not in for me, but it boils down to the freedom of speech. Even I'm being censored, and I'm aware of it due to, and I'm sure it's that same construct. So force majeure is for what is that? For economic hardships occur regularly in, wait. Force majeure events are often labeled as acts of God and include both natural and man-made events like fire, floods, storms, war, and labor disputes. Corporate shuffle, and at that time, because it's the same behavior pattern throughout history, it's the same behavior pattern. Look at the pattern. They did the corporate shuffle, and Dole refused to step aside and instead proclaimed the independent Republic of Hawaii. But Cleveland was unwilling to overthrow the government by force. But President William McKinley is the one that negotiated the treaty with Hawaii in 1897. So all of that is civilians. So the reason why the Queen yielded her authority is because she recognized that it was done by civilians, and civilians don't have the capacity to be able to, technically don't have the capacity. But however way this is panning out is how it's panning out because of grabbing, right? Because it's all about land, same as the Native Americans. It's all about land. It's land theft, grabbing land. For colonizers' ideas and constructs that are narcissistic. So even with the National Education Association, they also say the insurgents name themselves Republic of Hawaii. It's the same thing. They and continue to seek annexation with the United States. Article 32 of its so-called constitutional states, the president, with the approval of the cabinet, is hereby expressly authorized and empowered to make a treaty of political or commercial union between Republic of Hawaii and the United States, subject to the ratification of the Senate. The insurgents sought to be annexed by the United States. So multiple sources are saying the same thing, but it's being ignored, right? It gets very challenging to inspire and encourage people to do what is right and righteous. It's not the pleasant thing, but it's the right thing. And even for me, in the way I'm going about this, doing the best I can, looking at the whole situation, especially when things get very interesting. But so when I'm talking about those who are naughty or nice, right? There are some who are looking for remedy due to the offenses that they have committed or crimes they have committed. But force majeure would be more along the lines of doing what is right as a plus side to one's character, conduct. But when it comes to Hawaii Kingdom, there's a lot of people who throw around treason. The Penal Code, Hawaii Kingdom Penal Code, has a section 6, in treason. And their definition of treason is very different from the definition U.S. American treason, which is U.S. Code 18. So when you look at that, this is Hawaii Kingdom's definition of treason. Now, granted, this is 1800s law, but Hawaii Kingdom is in cement boots. That's why there is no banking, there's no infrastructure, because it's in complete cement boots. And the only way to get it out of its cement boots is the peace treaty, so that it can start functioning as a government again. So number 4, ambassadors and or other ministers of foreign states and their alien secretaries, servants, and members of their families do not owe allegiance to the kingdom, though resident therein, are not capable of committing treason against this kingdom. Number 8, no person shall be convicted of treason, but by the testimony of 2 or more lawful witnesses to the same overt act of treason whereof he stands charged, unless he shall in open court confess such treason. So there's a different definitions. Then in the American, their definition of treason is whoever owing allegiance to the United States levy war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death or shall be imprisoned not less than 5 years and fined under this title but not less than 10,000, and shall be incapable of holding any office under United States. So it's very different, and you can't apply American law in Hawaii Kingdom to Hawaii Kingdom subjects. So it gets very challenging to navigate through this, and especially for me, because doing investigative mediation and trying to be like, okay, where is this, only so that I can start moving forward with my life properly, it gets very challenging. So yeah, and with the infighting too, it's better that people work together instead of the infighting, and that continuously happens. And in that infighting, right, the keeping people separate instead of together, that's part of that swarm video. That's what they do, even globally. So yeah. So starting on December 26th, Parma Shivoham levels 1, 2, and 3 will start again. It's basically like a spiritual gymnasium super mall. You're welcome to come and join us to upgrade your decision making matrix and your spiritual power manifestation. It's already 12. I'm gonna go ahead and do unclutching meditation, but I won't be doing the power manifestation afterwards.
This technique is not even to be practiced every day. No. This is supposed to be practiced. Do not suppress. Just see. Let them come. When desires arise, let them happen.
Let all the desires arise in you. Don't suppress them. Don't judge them. Don't say they are right or wrong. Just let them happen. Consider. Let them happen. Anything comes up, just unclutch. Just disconnect. Don't judge. Don't say it is right. Don't say it is wrong. Just disconnect. Unclutch.
Thank you so much for joining. Let's close with the communion oneness prayer. Peace for you, peace for me, and global peace. And thank you. Have a good evening. Aloha, Nityanandam.